What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is TheUziGunner, bringing you all the very next episode of Trainer Cards, the show where I look at and present the single draft career of the coaches competing in this season of the WBE. I don't know why my voice is cracked. Anyways, as far as today's episode goes, we're going to be taking a look at the renowned coach who has massively stepped up his game last year and is a very likely candidate to take home the gold, Mr. Young Strong Jaw, PokeaimMD. So with the formalities out of the way, let's get this show on the road. PokeaimMD is a man who made his Draft League debut 3 years ago in the Season 1 of the UCL and became its inaugural champion. Since then, he competed there for another season before following it up with competing for one season in the GBA, P4G, and APA respectively. Do note though that since he had to drop out in the middle of the latter season, his record there will not be counted. This leaves him with a total of 46 wins and 13 losses, giving him a distinction-worthy winning percentage of 78. He's managed to reach playoffs a total of 3 times, which clearly shows that he is just as big of a threat in this scene as he is in standard play. As far as the team that he used so far goes, these are the 2 ones that I think perfectly describes his evolution as a battler from then and now. These were drafted in the Season 2 of the UCL and Season 3 of the P4G respectively. Keep in mind, however, that the latter had a clause where you could only draft Tier 3 and below Mons, hence no Tier 1 or Tier 2 Pokemon, which you see before you. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. Before, Joey's drafting style would involve the structure of a standard balance squad that has its fair share of fat Mons, but also certain Pokemon that provide him options such as Volturn, Hazard Stack, Breakers, Setup, and so on. This, as a result, did lead to his teams for each week being of the same structure, with that is balance, and did somewhat act as a hindrance for him later on in his career, which I'll go more in depth into as this video continues. However, a massive change can be seen in the other squad that was drafted more recently, and I say that because due to the team structure you see before you, Joey essentially was put in a position where he could have free reign in regards to the type of teams he'd be able to build for his opponents. Being able to make varying types of squads with his team composition, from balance to hyper offense to bulky offense, all depending on what works best against his opponent, speaks volumes about the improvement in approach that Joey now has when it comes down to drafting. That evident sense of diversity can also be seen in his current squad for this season, which very much shows how well he is applying this mindset, making him an even bigger of a threat towards every single competitor in the WBE. Joey may have competed in his fair share of leagues after his tenure in the UCL came to a close. However, if there was a Pokemon that he used which still hasn't been overtaken in terms of KOs, it'd have to be none other than Big Black Kyurem. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, this borderline broken monster among all Pokemon has been a one-way ticket to destruction for all of Joey's opponents, despite not even having access to Z-moves during then, might I add. To be able to get a total of 16 kills even after drafting it one time is honestly pretty damn impressive. Joey would run a plethora of sets each week, from Specs to Life Orb to E-Belt, you name it. However, if there was anything that in my opinion really sealed the deal and very much showed that Joey was beyond a shadow of a doubt going to have a thriving career as a draft battler, it'd have to be the fact that he was fully aware of the natural bulk of that Kyurem Black possessed and on a certain week managed to exploit it to the fullest, where he ran this very bulky set that allowed him to naturally outpace the opposing Mega Diancie as it Mega evolved and set up a substitute as he would predict it to go for a Protect. What really impressed me, however, was that this particular set also happened to account for the potential situation where if Mega Diancie did not go for Protect but rather Moonblast, as Kyurem Black would go behind the substitute, Kyurem Black would still be able to take another Moonblast from Mega Diancie before OHKOing it with Iron Head. That sense of calculated and long-term thinking that accounts for each conceivable scenario in that 1v1 situation, which was definitely shown in the set and spread, all of which, whilst happening in his very first season, was nothing short of impressive and very much showed to me that he would be an absolute force to be reckoned with for the foreseeable future. It's a good thing he doesn't have it this season of the WBE, because if he did, it'd be nothing but bad news for his opponents. And now for the final segment of the video, let's talk about Joey's playstyle throughout these last 3 years. Initially, Joey would always bring the usual type of balance squad that would span from having a full turn core that would help him dictate the pace of the match to always having Pokemon that be able to eat hits, giving him scope to recover. He'd follow the usual game plan in a standard singles match, and that is by trying to set up rocks as early as possible and at the same time being able to set up other forms of hazards such as toxic spikes and especially spikes, which most certainly paid dividends for him early on in his draft career and is what overall helped him secure his very first championship in the Season 1 of the UCL. However, I'd wager that his usual builds would revolve more around outplaying his opponent with predictions rather than giving him a distinct edge from the get-go that accounts for almost every single situation going into the game. In a way, it focused more on short-term thinking rather than long-term thinking, and other than that one special instance which we saw with Kieran Black, it was never really enhanced upon after in regards to his whole squad. He'd essentially do all of that and eventually attempt to set up and win, which, while definitely was something that paid dividends for him early on in his career, was the complete opposite in his GBA run. The players very much caught on to his repetitive pattern and would adjust their builds, giving them the early edge going into the match, which made things extremely difficult for our coach of the Bronx Beartics. All of that, however, took a 180-degree turn from week 5, as with the help of some seasoned veterans such as Matty Brolic, Gypsy King, Aki VGC, and so on, his builds showed drastic improvement that had proper long-term thinking rather than following the status quo of a standard build that was seen early on. Since then, Joey for the most part has been on a straight up hot streak, even taking down competitors that defeated him early on in the season, only to barely miss out on playoffs in the end. I guess all he needed was a proper push in the right direction, and having those seasoned veterans by his side most certainly helped him gain that needed insight, making him the player he now is today. His style is now more or less centered towards what I'd argue is the right path, and that is creating the ideal build that accounts for the likely scenarios which would be presented by his opponent, giving him the early advantage in the game, so that when the least ideal situation such as RNG takes place, he still can be able to recover instead of crumbling then and there. In a sense, this doesn't force him to continuously outplay or outpredict his opponents, which, provided that his build is superior to his opponent, massively increases his probability of winning. The fruits of his new mindset and approach was entirely shown when he competed in the P4G, where he lost only once in the regular season and made it all the way to the finals, barely missing out on the championship to another fellow coach of the WBE, 6-Foot Hacks. And with how well he's been doing so far in this season of the WBE, he has definitely shown that he hasn't lost a step by any means. So who knows? If he keeps this up, we may very well be seeing a new World Battle Entertainment champion in this season. So yeah, that, my friends, concludes this episode of Trainer Cards. I hope you all managed to find enjoyment out of it, and if you did, be sure to drop a like on this video and let me know what you think of Joey aka PokeaimMD as a draft battler. And let me know in the comment section down below what you think of Joey's draft run so far. My name is TheUziGunner. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you all have a glorious day, and with that, I bid you all adieu. Push!